The Pokemon Adventures manga begins in Pallet Town, where a group of kids try to catch a Nidorino. They struggle, getting the help of Red, one of Pallet Town's best trainers, who shows them how to properly catch a Pokemon by battling with his Poliwhirl named Polly. Though Red doesn't know how many Pokemon exist, he's determined to catch them all, and the kid suggests he learn from Professor Oak, but Red dismisses the professor's expertise, and that of his renowned grandson. I'm sure that won't come back to bite him in the butt. Soon after, Red encounters a group of mysterious trainers, searching for the elusive Phantom Pokemon. Intrigued, Red decides to find this Pokemon himself, but another trainer has already beaten him to it. Red watches as a boy with a Charmander battles a glowing Pokemon, later revealed as Mew. The boy, showing restraint, recalls his Charmander mid-battle, frustrating Red. When Red tries to battle Mew himself, he's utterly humiliated. The boy criticizes Red for overestimating himself, leaving him humbled and bewildered. As the mysterious trainers leave in pursuit of Mew, Red, shaken by his first big loss, decides to set aside his pride to meet Professor Oak, hoping to learn what it truly takes to become a great Pokemon trainer. The first chapter does an excellent job at introducing us to the Pokemon world. We see core elements like battling and catching, plus a hint of mystery with the men chasing Mew. Most importantly, it's a fantastic introduction to our protagonist, Red. Though initially cocky and skilled, Red soon learns that he's a big fish in a small pond. His defeat by Mew delivers a hard hit to his ego, and the boy's lecture stings even more. But this humbling moment is the perfect catalyst for his journey, giving him a reason to finally meet Professor Oak. After ringing the doorbell with no answer, Red enters Oak's lab and is captivated by the collection of Pokemon, with Bulbasaur interesting him the most. Oak mistakes Red for a thief, leading to a chaotic moment where Red accidentally releases all of Oak's Pokemon. As they round them up, they realize that some Pokemon have escaped the lab, extending their search beyond Pallet Town to Viridian City. The chase leads them to the abandoned Viridian Gym, where Oak fails to reclaim Bulbasaur. However, Red empathizes with Bulbasaur's nerves about being outside for the first time, and successfully calms it down. Their moment is interrupted, however, by a wild Machoke, who I guess is just chilling in this building, forcing Red to battle on his own as Oak is out of commission. Thinking quickly, Red exposes Bulbasaur's bulb to sunlight, powering up a powerful solar beam to defeat Machoke. Impressed by Red's ingenuity and his bond with Bulbasaur, Oak allows him to keep it, and Red names him Soar. Red explains that his true purpose for visiting Oak was to learn from him. Oak tells Red that greatness lies in the bond with one's Pokemon, something Red has already shown. Recognizing his potential, Oak gives Red a Pokédex, challenging him to record every Pokemon and hinting that he may become a great trainer by doing so. While the previous chapter introduces Red as cocky and overconfident, this one reveals his true character through his determination to fix his mistake with Oak's released Pokemon. Red's ability to tame Bulbasaur, something even Oak couldn't manage, proves that he has the potential to be a great trainer. His battle against Machoke also shows that Red is pretty skilled, he just needs proper guidance. These moments soften Oak's initial hostility, allowing him to see Red's genuine talent. And now with the Pokédex, Red has a clear mission that aligns perfectly with his goal to catch them all, setting the stage for his journey. Professor Oak sends Red to Viridian Forest to start his quest, hinting someone might be there before quickly brushing it off. Eager to fill his Pokédex, Red heads out, unaware that the boy from earlier is also there, searching for a specific Pokemon. Red's Polly accidentally runs into the boy's Charmander and gets knocked out, angering Red and prompting him to square up. He soon recognizes the boy as the same one who fought Mew. Suddenly, a wild Kangaskhan appears, the Pokemon the boy has been hunting for his Pokédex entry. Red is surprised to see the boy with the Pokédex, and this leads to him learning that he's Professor Oak's grandson. Charmander launches relentless attacks on Kangaskhan, who resists being caught but seems to hold back its full strength. Observing this, Red realizes something's off, and tries to stop the battle, but the boy ignores him. This causes Red to intervene with his Polly, revealing that Kangaskhan was protecting its injured baby. He helps heal the baby, allowing the Kangaskhan pair to leave safely, much to the boy's frustration. The boy introduces himself as Blue, and as they part ways, Red declares that he won't lose to him. Watching from a distance, like an old creep, Professor Oak is intrigued to see how Red and Blue's journey will unfold. This chapter sets up Red and Blue's rivalry perfectly. Their previous encounter sparked tension, but in Viridian Forest, we get a real foundation, now that Blue's identity and goal are revealed. While the first chapter portrayed Red as inexperienced and Blue as the skilled one, this chapter flips the dynamic. Despite Blue's skill, we see Red possesses strengths that Blue lacks. Blue fails to see the baby Kangaskhan in danger, and when Red heals it, Blue still feels frustrated over missing the capture rather than relief over the Pokemon's safety. This contrast in values makes their rivalry even more compelling. When Red arrives in Pewter City, he notices a commotion caused by a mischievous Pikachu, stealing produce from the town's merchants. The townspeople struggle to capture it, so Red steps in to help, using Soar to battle. After easily resisting Pikachu's attacks, Soar uses Sleep Powder, allowing Red to capture Pika the Pikachu. Impressed by Red's skills, the townsfolk ask Red about his journey, and Red reveals his goal of completing the Pokédex. However, Pika acts up, prompting Red to try training and befriending it. Just then, Blue arrives, taunting Red's poor control over Pika, which initiates a battle, or so Red thought. Instead, Blue announces his intent on challenging the gym leader Brock for the Boulder Badge, introducing Red to the concept of gym badges and their ability to boost a Pokemon's power, something that exists in the games but I often forget about. Blue challenges Red to see who will earn the badge first, advising him that Brock specializes in rock types, which isn't ideal for Pika. Motivated to beat Blue, Red heads to the Pokemon Center to heal his team, only to find it vandalized the next morning, meaning Red's only fully health Pokemon is Pika. This chapter creates great tension, especially since Red hasn't fully tamed Pika yet. Pika's angsty attitude is reminiscent of another familiar electric rodent that had a rocky start with its new trainer, but the manga gives it a fresh spin. Given Pikachu's mascot status, this chapter was bound to happen, yet it feels unique and fitting here. I like the detail suggesting that Pika came from Viridian Forest and migrated to Pewter City, nodding to how Pikachu can be caught there in the games. This also explains its rowdy behavior, as it's adapting to a new environment and learning to interact with people. As Red rushes to face the Pewter Gym, he sees Blue already battling with his newly evolved Charmeleon. Red registers for his match, though Pika still refuses to listen after their failed training session. Taking a risk, Red relies on his weakened Polly and Soar. Polly goes up against a gym trainer's Graveler, winning without taking damage. Wait, did that Graveler just die? We see a montage of Red swiftly beating each trainer thanks to his type advantage, catching Brock's attention in the background. Before the final match, Red tries to convince Pika to cooperate, as his other Pokemon are exhausted. Although Pika resists, Red insists, throwing him into battle against Brock's Onix. Pika dodges Onix's rock throw, but after taking a hit, it turns its anger on Red instead. Furious, Brock accuses Red of relying on luck and commands a brutal skull bash on Pika. At the last moment, Red saves Pika and apologizes for forcing him to fight. Inspired by Red's act of kindness, Pika finally steps up and defeats Onix with a powerful electric attack. Wait, did that Onix just die? Red and Blue become the only trainers to earn the Boulder Badge. Thanking Pika, Red officially invites him to the team. Pika accepts, but not before giving Red a few more Thunder Shocks. This was a fun take on the gym challenge. The tournament-style battles against gym trainers brought a fresh twist, and Red relying on his weakened team, with only Pika at full health, really raised the stakes. The moment between Red and Pika felt genuine, with Red finally acknowledging Pika's feelings and letting him choose to fight, leading to Pika's newfound loyalty. Red one-shotting Onix though, that was kinda dumb. I guess the anime isn't the only medium where electric moves can damage ground types. This chapter is also where we start to see Pokemon get absolutely brutalized, revealing the grittier tone of battles this adaptation has compared to others. Speaking of which, the journey takes a dark turn when a girl is attacked by a rampaging Gyarados. And is she bleeding? Man, things just got serious. Her Staryu is clearly outmatched, but luckily, Red arrives in time to help. Soar holds strong against Gyarados' water attacks, and gains the upper hand with Leech Seed. After the girl Staryu uses Recover, she and Red team up, managing to weaken Gyarados enough for Red to catch it, ending the rampage. The girl reveals that Gyarados wasn't wild, but had been stolen from her a week ago, only to return with this aggressive behavior. This enrages Red, who's determined to find whoever's behind it. He contacts Professor Oak, showing his Pokédex progress and explaining the situation. Professor Oak suggests Team Rocket might be responsible, an evil organization known for their cruel Pokemon experiments. He warns Red that they could be after the Moonstone, rumored to boost a Pokemon's power at the nearby Mount Moon. Armed with this new info, Red sets out to foil Team Rocket's plan. The girl, revealing herself as Misty, a dedicated water Pokemon trainer, joins him. Together, they're ready to uncover the mystery behind Gyarados' strange transformation. We're beginning to get a glimpse at the darker side of this Pokemon world. The opening scene with Misty badly hurt by a raging Gyarados shows that things are about to get more intense. The shift in tone teases a world that's not all smiles and friendly battles, and it's an intriguing change that keeps you wondering what's next. At the base of Mount Moon, Team Rocket, the same group that hunted Mew, are after the Moonstone. Red and Misty sneak in, aiming to beat them to it. Inside Mount Moon's dark cave, Red relies on Pika to light the way, though Pika's defiant attitude is still in full force. As they press on, Red runs into a Rhyhorn, which turns out to be owned by Team Rocket. Wasting no time, he engages in battle. Pika takes a hit from a rock throw, but rebounds, using the scatter of rocks to take down Rhyhorn. Just when it seems like they've won, a mysterious injection causes Rhyhorn to evolve into Rhydon. Misty, recalling the Gyarados incident, angrily accuses Team Rocket of experimenting on Pokemon. But unfazed, the grunt dismisses her, saying they can't remember every Pokemon they experiment on. Enraged, Misty commands an attack, but Rhydon redirects it with Horndrill, sending her flying and knocking her unconscious. It's now up to Red. Pika is quickly overpowered, but in a desperate move, it launches itself and knocks a boulder from the ceiling, blocking Team Rocket and letting them escape. The Rocket Grunt removes his cap, revealing he's actually Koga, a pretty epic twist. When Misty wakes up, she's upset that they didn't get the Moonstone, but Red reveals that he snagged one after the cave collapsed. This was an intense chapter. Unlike the games or anime, the manga shows how truly dangerous Team Rocket can be. From disturbing experiments to outright harming children, these grunts make Jesse and James look terrible. Red's tactics here were impressive. Despite Pika being at a disadvantage, he skillfully uses the environment to gain the upper hand, showcasing his resourcefulness. The reveal of Koga as a Team Rocket member was mind-blowing, definitely not a role you'd expect from him. The manga's bold takes on familiar characters keeps the story fresh and engaging, adding a unique edge to the Gen 1 narrative. When Red and Misty reach Cerulean City, he's shocked to find that Misty lives in a luxurious mansion filled with maids. As their Pokemon rest and they have a fancy dinner, Red recounts the events of Mount Moon, basking in the maids' attention. Misty, however, is worried about Team Rocket's threat and insists on training. Red, too busy bragging and even teasing Misty for being unconscious, irritates her enough to leave. Not cool, dude. Her life was literally at risk. That night, Red is attacked in his room, with only a Gyarados skill left behind. The next day, curious but distracted by the maids, he decides to take on the Cerulean Gym to impress them. The maids giggle, and Misty offers to guide him there. At the Cerulean Gym, Misty reveals that she's actually the gym leader. Red doubts her until she attacks with Starmie, confessing that she was the mysterious attacker from last night. This makes Red battle with Soar, but he's easily defeated. Misty explains that if her Starmie, which couldn't be Team Rocket, could overpower him, then they both need more training. Seeing her tears and determination, Red finally agrees, and after a few days of training, Misty awards him the Cascade Badge, and he leaves with a renewed resolve. Red was pretty obnoxious in this chapter, but it fits his character at this point. He's still carrying flaws from the beginning, now fueled by his first life-threatening encounter with Team Rocket, which only boosted his ego. Misty snapping him out of it was great, as it allowed him to grow. And even though we've seen it before at Mount Moon, the gym battle also highlights how trainers actively participate in battles, and can even get hurt themselves. A cool detail that adds a whole new layer to Pokemon battles, making them feel more intense and immersive than usual. Not far from Cerulean City, we meet Bill, who accidentally gets trapped in his Pokemon transporter. Afterwards, as Red struggles to carry all the Pokemon he's been catching so far, he comes across what he thinks is a Rattata, only to be surprised when it starts talking. Turns out it's actually Bill, who became a Rattata when he got stuck in his transporter. Before Red can even help him, Bill is yoinked by a wild Fearow. Sora's grass attacks aren't good enough, so Pika and Polly attack, only to hurt Bill instead. Eventually, Red comes up with a plan to have Pika attack from above, landing a powerful blow with Thunder. Fearow prepares to retaliate with a deadly Drill Peck, and oh my god, he impaled Polly! Oh, never mind, that was just an icy afterimage. That was enough to defeat Fearow. With the day saved, Red is finally able to restore Bill to his normal self. And as thanks for his help, Bill offers to transport Red's extra Pokemon whenever he needs them. I loved Bill's introduction. We're familiar with him turning into a Pokemon from the games, but seeing it fully played out here was pure comedy. The punchline where Bill freaks out after noticing Red caught the Fearow that attacked him was perfect. Speaking of Fearow, the way Red was able to take it down was sick. Not only does the fake out with Polly getting impaled hinted again at the darker side of Pokemon battles, but the icy substitute was some next level originality only the manga could pull off. Red's next stop is Vermilion City, where he spots the SSN and decides to sneak on board. He notices strange things like shaking boxes and shadowy figures, but gets spooked and ends up caught and kicked out of the ship. Outside, he meets the president of the Pokemon fan club, who's drawn to his Pokeball and impressed by Red's Pokemon, inviting him to the club. At first, the members love him and his Pokemon, but then aren't too thrilled when they learn that Red battles with his Pokemon, as they like to keep them cute and unevolved. Suddenly, a member arrives informing that his Exeggutor was stolen, and the club reveals to Red that there's been a string of Pokemon poachings, including the president's Abra. Because they aren't in their Pokeballs, Red deduces that the stolen Pokemon might be getting smuggled through the SSN, which he discovers is run by Gym Leader Lieutenant Surge. Leaving Pika with the president and Sora in the ocean, Red sneaks back onto the ship with only Polly, and gets shocked by a comically small Voltorb that he mistook for a Pokeball. After making it flee, Polly goes down due to its electric weakness, and that's when Lieutenant Surge appears, ready to confront Red. This was a great setup for Red's upcoming conflict. I love how it starts out innocently enough with the Pokemon fan club, only to uncover a more sinister conspiracy beneath the surface. Red's introduction to his Pokemon, especially the story of his childhood and friendship with Polly, adds emotional weight, setting the stage perfectly for what's ahead. Now Red's left to protect his weakened partner, adding extra tension to this unfolding plot. Lieutenant Surge confronts Red about sneaking on board, and after hearing Red's intent on rescuing the stolen Pokemon, he admits they're stealing them for profit. Surge then unleashes his hulking Electabuzz, but Red manages to dodge and freezes it with Polly's Ice Beam, making his escape. However, Surge tracks him via surveillance, and soon, Red is disoriented by Magneton's Screech, causing him to let go of his weakened Polly, which falls into the hands of Lieutenant Surge. Surge traps Red with an electrical barrier, and cruelly tosses Polly overboard. He even has Electabuzz strike Red with Thunderbolt, before dumping him into the ocean. An outright murder attempt. As Red sinks, he recalls a childhood moment when his Poliwag evolved to save him. Right on cue, Polly evolves into Poliwrath to rescue him. With his newfound strength, Poliwrath takes on Electabuzz, using Seismic Toss to throw both it and Lieutenant Surge overboard. Though Surge escaped, the stolen Pokemon are saved. Later, the Pokemon Fan Club president congratulates Red, but is heartbroken to find that his cute little Abra has evolved into an Alakazam. Lieutenant Surge was truly a dangerous foe, showing how intense the villains in Pokemon adventures can be, especially when they're willing to kill children and Pokemon. That's what makes Red's victory so satisfying, and the best part is how it hinges on the bond between Red and Polly. This moment gives Red's first Pokemon some much needed development, and I'm glad Polly got his time to shine. Now there is one weird thing though. Poliwhirl evolves with a Water Stone, yet there is no Water Stone here. It seems like an oversight, but this is actually explained in a later saga, which I'll cover when we get there. On Route 11, Red and several cyclists line up for a race. The announcer explains the route, mentioning it straightforward, except for one part that he hints at, giving it a surprise. The race begins, but Red falls behind, regretting the bike voucher he used for his bike, especially after paying an entry fee. Just as he considers quitting, he notices a holdup ahead. A narrow bridge over a river packed with Tentacruel. A swimmer tells Red that it's also an obstacle course, where Pokemon can be used. Inspired, Red calls Polly, who uses Ice Beam to make an ice bridge, letting Red cross quickly. Red then reaches a forest shortcut, ignoring warnings about bug Pokemon. He commands Pika to zap away pests and Sword to clear the path, but a Beedrill Hive falls on Soar, leaving Red and his Pokemon stung and sore but in the lead. Finally, Red encounters a large sleeping Snorlax, blocking the path. Polly's attacks fail, but the honey on Soar catches Snorlax's attention. Red narrowly crosses the finish line, chased by a hungry Snorlax, winning him first place. Celebrating, he soon realizes that the prize money will all go to feeding his new Pokemon, Snore the Snorlax. This chapter was a blast. Turning the race into a Pokemon triathlon allowed each of Red's Pokemon to shine. I do find it funny though how Snorlax became a major obstacle for the swimmer, the same guy who suggested using Pokemon to cross the water. I guess he just forgot? Interestingly, this is also the first real deviation from the game's set path, as Red takes Route 11 and 12 instead of Rock Tunnel to reach Lavender Town, even moving Snorlax without the Pokeflu. It highlights the manga's ability to shake up the storyline, something we'll keep seeing as the journey unfolds. Red arrives in Lavender Town, searching for shelter from the rain, but the townspeople ignore him. Mr. Fuji appears, noting the town folks' unfriendly nature, then kneels beside a grave to honor his deceased Doduo. Red joins him, which Mr. Fuji appreciates. At Mr. Fuji's house, he shares Lavender Town's history and the origins of Pokemon Tower, explaining it was once a respectful resting place for Pokemon but is now haunted, scaring townspeople into isolation. Red nervously brushes off talk about ghosts, but Mr. Fuji shows him photos of Doduo and mentions Blue, who went to explore the tower weeks ago and never returned. Determined to uncover the truth, Red ventures into the fog-filled Pokemon Tower. He's soon cornered by zombie Pokemon, and despite his efforts, he realizes his attacks have no effect. Cornered and desperate, he commands Sword to immobilize the Psyduck skeleton. As Red plans his next move, a blast of fire narrowly misses him, and he spots Blue standing among the zombies. Shocked, Red calls to him, only to realize Blue and his Charmeleon are now under the same eerie influence. The manga's adaptation of Lavender Town brings the creepiness this town has always been known for to life, capturing exactly what fans imagine when they think of Lavender Town. Now we are truly in the darker side of the Pokemon world, with unflinchingly portraying Pokemon death and pitting Red against terrifying Pokemon corpses. The final reveal of a possessed Blue adds to the chilling mystery, creating an intense storyline that's just beginning to unravel. Red realizes immediately that Blue's controlled by the tower's fog. Blue's Charmeleon attacks, but Sword restrains it with his vines, as Red tries to pinpoint the source of the possession, a Ghastly that has the power to control others. Sword's Razor Leaf passes right through with no effect. As Charmeleon charges a massive fire spin, Sword's Bulb sucks in Ghastly, breaking its grip on Blue and Charmeleon. Sword then unleashes a powerful Solar Beam, blasting Ghastly through the wall. I've seen a Bulbasaur use Whirlwind before, but this is something totally unexpected. Blue regains consciousness, and thanks Red, then insists on heading deeper into the tower to confront the one who possessed him. Red then dodges a wave of thick acid. Blue explains that it's venom from a poison Pokemon, and Koga returns to confirm this. Koga reveals that he's a Team Rocket elite, and that they've been using the tower as a hidden base. After his shadow clone vanishes, Arbok attacks, spraying acid as the boys flee. Blue devises a plan, using Psyduck's remains as a shield to protect Charmeleon, tricking Koga. Charmeleon then uses Slash to literally cut Arbok in half. Oh my god. With Arbok freaking dead, Koga vows revenge on Red and Blue. Later, Mr. Fuji thanks Red for restoring peace to Lavender Town, and Red humbly credits Blue before continuing his journey. This chapter was wild. Of course, we have to talk about the infamous Arbok death. It's probably what most casual fans think of when they think of Pokemon adventures because of how hardcore it is. I can't imagine any other Pokemon medium allowing something like this. And while the villains took a loss, Koga proved to be a real threat, actively trying to kill Red and Blue. This chapter truly defines Team Rocket's ruthless lengths to achieve their goals and highlights the resilience our protagonist needs to stop them. Now before jumping into Volume 2, a quick word from this video sponsor, Raycon. Are you looking for an audio experience that keeps up with your Pokemon adventures? Look no further than Raycon's everyday earbuds. With an impressive 32-hour battery life, you won't have to stress about charging mid-journey. Their multi-point connectivity lets you easily switch between your phone and tablet, making multitasking a breeze. The ergonomic design with optimized gel tips means they fit comfortably and stay in place, no matter what the activity. And check out this sleek protective case. It matches the earbuds perfectly, supporting wireless charging, giving you 90 minutes of playback with just 10 minutes of charging. I personally love using my earbuds during workouts. They block out noise and keep me focused on my goals. The best part is that Raycon delivers premium sound quality for half the price of other big brands. And guess what? Black Friday is here, and Raycon is offering up to 30% off site-wide. It's the perfect time to upgrade your audio game at an unbeatable price. Don't miss out. Head to buyraycon.com/Zatoshi and get up to 30% off today. The next volume begins in an observation tower, as a girl spots Red through her binoculars and rushes down to meet him. Meanwhile, Red and Soar have just beaten a Primeape, causing Soar to evolve into Ivysaur. As they celebrate, the girl congratulates him, and using her charm, she persuades Red to buy Pokemon items from her to make his team stronger. Red tries the items in battle against a wild Pinsir, however he quickly realizes he's been scammed. Later, at the Celadon Pokemon Center, Red hears from Professor Oak, who congratulates him on Soar's evolution and mentions that Squirtle, the last starter Pokemon, was stolen from his lab. Frustrated, Red vows to never be tricked again, only to spot the girl selling some more fake items. Confronting her, she tries to escape on her Wartortle, but Red's snore blocks her path. She pretends to apologize, then suddenly attacks, but Red sees it coming, saying she shouldn't underestimate a trainer with 2 badges. This was pretty funny considering that's not exactly a big flex, but okay Red, do you king. After knocking her out with Mega Punch and recovering his money, Red learns her name, Green, and notices her Wartortle could be Professor Oak's stolen Squirtle. Later that night, Red realizes his badges are missing. Meanwhile, back in her tower, it's revealed that Green had stolen them. This was a fun introduction to the final trainer of the original Kanto starters. Green is a fascinating character, not your typical female protagonist. She's sneaky and manipulative, a sharp contrast to Red's innocence and kind-hearted nature. Also, learning the truth about Squirtle was interesting too, since it's been absent from the story so far, giving the starters more equal attention. At the Rocket Game Corner, a grunt reports that they're close to locating Green. Red, who's now undercover as a grunt, recalls that he suspected Green stole his badges and swore revenge. After overhearing grunts discuss their failed attempt to capture her, Red knocked one out, stole his uniform, and snuck into their hideout. Inside, he's led to an underground lab, where a half-formed Pokemon floats in a tank, Mewtwo, created from Mew cells. And oh look, it's Blaine. The scientists explain that they need the original data disk stolen by Green to complete it. Suddenly, the grunts are dispatched. Green has been spotted. Out in the field, Green and her Wartortle are surrounded by grunts. She refuses to hand over the disc, wanting Mew for herself. As her Wartortle dodges attacks, Red notices she's wearing his badges as earrings, which, not gonna lie, is actually a pretty cool flex. Tauros is then sent out, and with its ability to command other Pokemon, overpowers Wartortle to retrieve the disc, cornering Green at a cliff. Thinking fast, she sends out Ditto, amusing the grunts. But as Tauros charges, Red jumps in, saving Green as Tauros falls off the cliff. To the grunt's surprise, however, when the Tauros returns, it commands all the Pokemon to attack them. As Red and Green escape with Green's Jigglypuff, the Tauros is revealed to be Ditto. The grunts curse their luck, but find comfort in recovering the Mew data disk. Green just keeps on getting more interesting, now tied up with Team Rocket and actively driving the plot, pulling Red along with her. I love it. Tying this back to Mew was a fantastic move, a throwback to the first chapter where Team Rocket hunted Mew, now using his DNA to create Mewtwo. Speaking of which, seeing the creation of Mewtwo was epic, and really sets up exciting future developments. After escaping Team Rocket, Red reluctantly leads Green back to the base, hoping they're safe now that the Grunts believe that they retrieved the Mew disc. Green reveals they haven't. She gave them a fake and kept the real one to be the first to capture Mew. She then disguises her Ditto as a Mew to distract the Grunts while they search for the real one, asking Red to help since Team Rocket thinks they're partners. Green then reveals her Mew View, a modified Sylph Scope that tracks psychic waves, and using the Mew data disc, she locks onto Mew's signal. Green reveals that she's after Mew for money, as she explains that the rare 151st Pokemon could make her a fortune. Now let me stop you right there real quick. During this conversation, Red claims that there are only 150 Pokemon, but Green corrects him by saying Mew is the 151st. How would she know that when the 150th Pokemon, Mewtwo, isn't even fully created yet? Like, I get in the games Mew comes after Mewtwo since it's a mythical, but here no one should know Mewtwo exists yet. So how is Green able to correct him? Kind of an oversight, but whatever, let's move on. Eventually they do find Mew, and with Wartortle's Hydro Pump, they slow it down. Sword wraps Mew with its Vine Whip, until Team Rocket arrives with Jinx, who defeated Ditto. Red tells Green to escape with Mew, but Jinx Psywave breaks Sword's vines. As Jinx reaches for Mew, Polly intervenes, but is frozen by Ice Punch. Mew then unleashes a powerful psychic attack, defeating Team Rocket and vanishing. Frustrated at first, Green lightens up knowing that she'll make a profit from the picture she secretly took. Red fumes as she escapes, but finds she left behind his badges and a thank you note. I like this because it shows that Green isn't as bad as she first seemed. Sure, she's conniving, but this encounter helps her respect Red more, and vice versa. Mew's appearance was also a neat surprise. I didn't expect it to be back so soon. Plus, with Team Rocket's involvement, it's clear they're making big moves to achieve their goals. Things are only going to get more interesting from here. At the game corner, Blue exchanges his coins for a prized Pokemon. The attendant warns that Pokemon at the game corner are harder to train than those caught personally. Later, as Red tries to leave Celadon City, he bumps into Blue, who's chasing his unruly Porygon, scattering their Pokeballs. After picking them up, Blue reveals that Porygon was his prize, then leaves before Red can learn more about it. Just then, Red hears girls being chased by wild Pokemon. Ready to help, he sends out what he thinks is Pika, but is actually Blue's Charmeleon. Confused, he tries more Pokeballs, but they're all Blue's. Mistaking him for Blue, the girls urge Red to battle. However, Charmeleon ignores his command, leading to Red's defeat and embarrassment. Surprised by how disciplined Blue's Pokemon are, Red tries his best to befriend them. Meanwhile, Blue uses the swap to his advantage, training Red's Pokemon with intense drills. Days later, Red's progression is slow, but he spots Blue battling a wild Ninetales with Pika. When Ninetales charges at Red, he sends out Machoke, who evolves into Machamp to overpower it. Red and Blue both go for the capture, but in the end, Blue is the one who takes Ninetales since his Machamp is the one who beat it. Afterward, they return each other's Pokemon, ending on a funny note as both teams display personality changes from their time away. Now, although this was a great chapter, there is a slight inconsistency. Porygon seems changed by Red's influence, but Red never actually had Porygon. Blue returned it to his Pokeball after their swap. Kind of a missed opportunity to not show Red soften up the Pokemon Blue struggled with, but no big deal. Overall, this is one of my favorite chapters. It's self-contained but packed with fun, really showing how differently Red and Blue's teams behave. Both trainers benefit in the end too, with the unique way of showing Machoke's trait evolution and Blue teaching Pika Toxic. This is just fantastic, man. While going down Cycling Road, Red loses control and crashes because of a bouncing Tangela. Red demands an apology, but the crowd of people block him from approaching Lady Erica. Erica, recognizing it's her followers' fault, orders them to apologize. They bow, but also tell Red he should too, as he's receiving an apology from the daughter of the richest family in Celadon, as well as their gym leader. Learning this, Red challenges Erica to a battle. Erica's followers beat the crap out of Red because of this, but Erica accepts Red's challenge, on one condition. He must catch an Eevee. At the Pokemon Center, Red's frustrated that Professor Oak isn't available to help, but Bill is. Meeting up, Bill shows Red a picture of Eevee, but he knows nothing more. Back at Celadon, Erica's servant suggests that sending Red for Eevee could jeopardize their secret project. Erica then has Vileplume use Petal Dance to reveal a hidden Drowsy spy. Red and Bill eventually track down Eevee. Red tries to battle it, however it perfectly counters all of Red's Pokemon by transforming into Jolteon, Vaporeon, and Flareon. Noticing its ear twitching, Red uses Sword's Razor Leaf to cover them, allowing him to defeat Eevee with Solar Beam. Bill discovers that a device in Eevee's ear is what's making it transform, and Red suspects that Erica knows more than she's letting on. This chapter adds a fascinating layer to Erica's character, casting her in a darker light. This isn't unusual for this canon, as it's already given us some evil gym leaders, but compared to her bland game counterpart, this Erika's from a wealthy family, practices archery, and holds a mysterious secret, making her far more engaging. The real twist, though, is the Eevee that can switch between evolutions, a sick concept, but shown with a darker twist, as it's the result of a disturbing experiment. This adds a great reason for Red to take action. Red bursts into the Celadon gym, and he's furious about what's been done to Eevee. Bill finds a book called Eevee Reconstruction, reading aloud that Eevee could be modified to change its forms, becoming a powerful weapon. Erika interrupts, applauding Red for bringing Eevee, and finally accepting his gym challenge. Red refuses, accusing her of using him to capture Eevee. Erika still sends out her team, so Red sends out his. Soar's Vine Whip is overpowered by Tangela's. Polly lands Double Slap on Bellsprout, but is taken out when the attack is mimicked. How does this happen? And then Pika is last, who is slowed down by Vileplume's Petal Dance and Swords Dance combination. When Erika suggests putting Eevee out of its misery, Jesus Christ that is dark, Pika learns Substitute to distract Vileplume, while his real body protects Eevee. Erika then reveals that it was all a test, she's not a villain. She apologizes, explaining that she wanted to see if Red could protect others and would treat Eevee with compassion. The Eevee had actually escaped from Team Rocket, who experimented on it. With Eevee safely restored, Erika awards Red the Rainbow Badge, urging him to help in their fight against Team Rocket. Later, as Red prepares to leave with Eevee, Bill warns him about being a target now, but Red doesn't care, and nearby, a sinister woman watches him. Now that was an interesting twist. We had every reason to think Erika was the villain, only to find out that she was actually an ally. It was a clever test for Red, and just as her loyalty cleared up, we learned that Sabrina is part of Team Rocket, a solid reveal that keeps building up their threat. With Erika testing Red and emphasizing the ongoing battle against Team Rocket, it shows how serious things are getting. This story is doing a fantastic job setting the stakes and establishing Team Rocket's influence. Red eagerly enters the Fuchsia City Safari Zone, created by his robotic guides, Pidgeot 1 and 2. Following the zone's rules, he leaves his Pokemon behind and boards a raft where they'll take him through the water. Red spots lots of Pokemon, including two Nidoking locked in a fierce fight over a Nidoqueen. In the control room, the warden is satisfied that the guests are having a fun time, and assures the staff that the Pidgeot security system will keep everyone safe. Despite the rules, Red secretly brought a Pokeball, aiming to catch a Nidoking. He misses, capturing the Nidoqueen instead, which pisses off the Nidoking. They attack Red, destroying Pidgeot 2 and the raft, leaving Red stranded on the shore. Pidgeot 1 scolds Red, but gives him a Safari Ball for protection. Nidoking appears and attacks again. Red tries the Safari Ball, but it fails. After throwing a rock at it, the Nidoking only becomes angrier. As the rampage continues, Red gets exhausted and hurt by poison. Nidoking prepares to finish him off, but Pidgeot protects Red from the attack. Red then throws another rock at Nidoking, stabbing it in the eye, allowing him and Pidgeot to escape. As night begins to fall, Red is then captured by a Victory Bell that swallows him whole.
That's all, folks.
Just kidding, this can't be the end. This chapter was intense, shifting from lighthearted fun to serious danger real quick. It really highlights how dangerous Pokemon can be, especially when you don't have one of your own to protect you. I guess Professor Oak truly meant it when he said that it's unsafe to go out in the tall grass, huh? The Safari Warden begins a search for Red, along with his Pokemon, and as this is happening, Red hangs on for dear life trying to not get digested by Victory Bell. It decides to spare him, however, wanting to save Red for an evolution ritual, where the Victory Bell suck their prey's nutrients like in Perfect Cell. That's pretty messed up. Also look, real animals. Using the items Red has on hand, Pidgeot comes up with a plan by disrupting their ritual with a Pokeflute, while Red distracts the Pokemon using a Pokédoll. Once freed, Red makes his escape, only to be confronted by Nidoking once again. Red uses the Victory Bell and Weepinbell as his meat shield, allowing him to capture Victory Bell. Now that he has a Pokemon, he uses it in battle to take on Nidoking. After trapping it with vines and poisoning it with poison powder, Red is also able to catch Nidoking. His celebration is cut short, however, by the swarm of Pokemon behind him. The next day, the Warden finds Red's cap, and to his surprise, Red appears, revealing he caught all the Pokemon who attacked him. Now that's a power move. This really shows how skilled Red is as a Pokemon trainer. Even without any Pokemon on hand, he cleverly found a way to catch one and then battled his way through every single threat. Although we don't get to see every capture, starting with Victory Bell and Nidoking was enough to show his talent. The reveal of his success at the end was also pretty funny. In Viridian City, locals mention how the gym remains closed since gym leader Giovanni went missing. Meanwhile, Red and Giovanni emerge from Diglett's cave, carrying rocks that they hope might contain fossils. Red asks Giovanni if he's met him before, but Giovanni, claiming to just be a simple researcher, brushes it off. Impressed by Red's skills, he listens to Red brag about his victories against gym leaders and Team Rocket. Suddenly, they see the Pewter Museum on fire, caused by 2 wild Magmar. Red sends out Snore to block the flames, while he thinks of a plan. Giovanni watches, believing Red is just a naive kid. But Red Sandshrew uses Sand Attack to put out the flames and circle around the Magmar to trap them. A smart move that surprises Giovanni. Beta Sand Tomb anyone? Giovanni is impressed and decides to take out Red, but after seeing him show mercy on the Magmar, changes his mind and laughs. As they part ways, Giovanni gives Red a rock they found, which is actually an old amber. Once Red leaves, Giovanni uses Cloyster to kill the Magmar, revealing to the readers his true identity as Team Rocket's leader. Talk about dramatic irony. We know Giovanni's the leader behind Team Rocket, but Red is clueless. I love the reference to Chapter 2 where Red noticed Giovanni's statue at the Viridian Gym, hinting at this moment. This was such an awesome encounter. Giovanni plays it smart by befriending Red to keep his biggest threat close. It briefly gave us a look at a different side to Giovanni, while also showing how evil he is with how ruthlessly he killed those Magmar. It was a great introduction and makes the threat of Team Rocket all the more scarier. Using his item finder, Red searches for something in the Sea of Route 19. In a flashback call with Professor Oak, we learned that Red taught HM Cut to Soar, Flash to Pika, and Strength to Snore, so all he's missing is Surf and Fly. He's hoping to find Surf in order to reach the Seafoam Islands and catch up to Blue. Just before he does though, a wild Dragonite appears, and knocks him out of the ocean. He comes up with a plan to distract Dragonite, using Pika to get its attention, and then attacks with Snore once it's out of the water. The plan seems to be working, but their combined weight breaks the boulders, sinking them to the ocean. Dragonite attacks Red, and although he dodges, it destroys the HM. A boulder then falls on Red's leg, trapping him underwater. As Red begins to lose his breath, he's saved by a Gyarados and a mermaid. He is then kept afloat by a Starmie, which Red is able to piece together as Misty's Pokemon. He commands Gyarados' Hyper Beam, and he has a fierce clash with Dragonite. And after its defeat, Misty reveals herself as Red's savior, giving him a thumbs up. Misty's return was awesome. She saved Red just when he needed her, showing off her total control of Gyarados now. Red's strategy to take on Dragonite was clever too, using Pika as bait as a nice nod to the fishing mechanic. It's a bit disappointing he didn't get to catch Dragonite after defeating it though, but still, the whole battle against Dragonite was enjoyable. The next chapter starts with Articuno flying over the Seafoam Islands, and Team Rocket on the hunt. Meanwhile, Red is learning to ride Misty's Gyarados across the sea. They reach Seafoam Island, but since the HM for Surf is broken, Misty gives him her Gyarados in exchange for his Krabby before she heads back to her gym duties. Red sets out to find Articuno, introducing his team to Gara the Gyarados. Polysaur and Pika are uneasy because of their previous bad experience with Gyarados at Mount Moon. Suddenly, Red is attacked by a Muck, but Gara steps in to protect him. Red asks his team to help, but they hesitate. Just then, Team Rocket appears, having reached Articuno, who has encased itself in ice to stay safe. When Red tries to stop them, Gara is triggered by its past trauma with Team Rocket and loses control. As Muck goes after Gara, Articuno breaks out of the ice, and the grunts chase it. Red begs his team to save Gara. Eevee, relating to Gara's struggles, inspires the team to step in and rescue Gara. Articuno freezes Muck to protect Red before escaping, and then Gara goes back to normal. Though Articuno gets away, Red is happy to see his team united to save Gara. This was a great introduction to Red's newest team member. After their earlier encounter, it's understandable that Red's Pokemon reacted the way they did. But I love that Eevee is the one that unites them, drawing from its own experience with Team Rocket. It's well written and serves as a strong bonding moment for Red's Pokemon. This feels like the point where they're truly beginning to form into an iconic team. As Red arrives on Cinnabar Island, he notices flames along the coast. He sees Team Rocket battling Blaine's Arcanine and Rapidash. When they spot Red, Team Rocket orders Gengar to attack him. Blaine steps in, telling them to leave Red alone, but they threaten Red to make Blaine cooperate. Gengar attacks, but Red's Gyarados drives the grunts back, giving Blaine a chance to save him. Blaine admits that he was once a Team Rocket scientist, but they're interrupted by a massive fireball. It's the legendary Moltres captured by Team Rocket. It's revealed that Team Rocket caught Moltres in the Indigo Plateau, and it won't stop attacking until its target is gone. Moltres attacks fiercely, leaving Blaine and Red overwhelmed. Blaine wishes they had a flying Pokemon to help, but then spots Red's old Amber. Urging Red to rush to his lab with Rapidash, Blaine and Gara continue fighting alone. At the lab, Red revives the fossil, bringing Arrow the Aerodactyl to life. Arrow carries Red back to the battle, and they face off against Moltres. They're able to cripple its wing, forcing Team Rocket to retreat. Blaine thanks Red for his help, and leaves to face his past. The chapter ends with the reveal of Team Rocket's possession of all 3 legendary birds. This was intense. It's awesome to get a nod to the Game Corner chapter where Blaine cameoed in the Mewtwo project, now showing the aftermath of his choice to leave. The reveal of Moltres was also an insane twist, adding another powerhouse to Team Rocket. Ironically, Red and Blaine survived due to the old amber Giovanni gave Red. Pretty wild. This is just a taste of what's coming though, with all 3 legendary birds setting up an even bigger battle. Also, how crazy is it that so many Kanto gym leaders are tied to Team Rocket? Giovanni really runs this region. Props to Blaine for breaking free. Outside Saffron City, Green begs one of the guards to let her in, but she's turned away at the entrance. Meanwhile, Blue faces the same issue, but uses Charizard to fly to try to enter from above, noticing something unusual. Suddenly, he's noticed by Green, who's floating with her Jigglypuff. Wearing her Silph Scope, she spots Blue and asks for his name. Blue ignores her and has Charizard descend, but slams into an invisible barrier around the city. Green suggests teaming up, but Blue refuses and heads off to consult with Professor Oak. Back at Pallet Town, Red has returned and is eager to visit Professor Oak. He finds the town is unusually quiet though. At the lab, Red is relieved to see Professor Oak, but senses something's off. Professor Oak suddenly attacks him. Dodging in shock, Red realizes this isn't the real Oak. He uses Soar's Vine Whip, but Oak breaks free and hits Soar with Psybeam. Red realizes it's a Pokémon, and after using Leech Seed, it's revealed as Kadabra. Sabrina then appears to taunt Red, telling him to come to Saffron City to save Oak and the townsfolk. She vanishes, leaving Red to wonder about her plan. Blue then arrives on Charizard, showing a photo of Grunts in Saffron City, realizing their final battle with Team Rocket is about to begin. This was an excellent build up to the showdown with Team Rocket. The manga has done a great job building up to this moment, and now there are real personal stakes for Red and Blue, with the people of Pallet Town in danger. I also like how Green has her own reasons for entering Saffron City, bringing all 3 protagonists into the conflict. This cliffhanger was so well done, and it really gets you excited for what's coming next. The final volume begins as Red remembers the Pokemon he sent to Professor Oak. Checking the computer, he's shocked to find that Eevee is gone, while Blue's Pokemon haven't been touched. Blue suggests that Team Rocket targeted the lab because of Red's actions, scolding him for always trying to be the hero. Red gets mad and tries to throw hands, but Blue blocks it, telling him that he'll handle Team Rocket alone. Red argues back, but Blue explains that Oak chose to set up his lab in the quiet place of Pallet Town because it's a pure place where Pokemon have been safe. And now, Team Rocket threatens that. Writing Charizard, Blue declares that he'll protect his home. Red calls Arrow, determined to protect Pallet Town too. In Saffron, Blue tries to break the barrier again. Red arrives and uses Hyper Beam, but it's useless. They spot each other, arguing over what to do. Meanwhile, Green is amused. Blue's Golduck scans the barrier and reveals it's made by a Mr. Mime, while Red uses Pika's substitute to get inside but can't find the enemy. Green notices and helps the boys realize they should work together. So with Golduck's help, Pika is guided to Mr. Mime and strikes, breaking the barrier. Red cheers and chases after Blue as they race towards Silphco, where Lieutenant Surge awaits. This is a strong start to the final showdown with Team Rocket. It clearly shows what's at stake by highlighting how unique Pallet Town is compared to the rest of the Kanto region. You can really feel the pride Red and Blue have for their hometown. As for their teamwork in breaking the barrier, that was great. Each character played a role in solving the problem, setting up a clever way to show off their strengths when they work together. Red has creativity, Blue brings strategy, and Green's awareness and adaptability help the boys put aside their differences. At the Silphco building, Red barely catches up to Blue. Suddenly, a trap door opens under Red, and as Blue tries to grab him, a shuriken stops him. Koga appears, laughing and praising Blue for breaking the barrier. Blue quickly sends out Scyther to attack, but Koga's armor, made of a Grimer, blocks the attack and covers Scyther in blue. Koga mocks him, saying that without his Pokemon, he's just a normal kid. Meanwhile, Red is trapped in a room surrounded by electric barriers. Voltorb and Electro start attacking, and Red realizes it's Lieutenant Surge's doing. Lieutenant Surge appears, strapped with electric Pokemon, and fires an Electrode rifle, which is honestly pretty badass and hardcore. Red asks why a gym leader would join Team Rocket. Surge says he got nothing out of being one, and just craves real power, which is a bit shallow if you ask me. Pika lands an attack, but Surge's insulated clothes protect him, and Magnemite holds Red in place before unleashing an onslaught of Voltorbs and Electrodes, revealed to be powered by the legendary Zapdos. Back to Blue, he's being taunted by Koga, showing Red's struggle through his Golbat's vision. Blue and Scyther attempt to break free, but Koga's Ekans and Golbat stop them, injuring Blue as he falls, thinking of his grandfather. Koga smirks, noting that Red seems to be in just as much trouble. Team Rocket is ruthless in this chapter, showing no mercy to Red and Blue. They're clearly out for blood against these kids. It's interesting to learn that each room the Rocket admins are in is built to amplify their abilities, giving them a big advantage. This really makes it feel like a hopeless situation, leaving you wondering how our heroes will make it out alive. It is a bit disappointing though that the gym leader seems to be evil for the sake of it, but still, it's a fun twist on these familiar characters. Green sneaks into Silph Co to complete her own mission, and suddenly hears a loud gong sound, freezing her in her tracks. As she makes her way into the 3rd floor, she finds herself transported outside. Sabrina appears from behind, warning that psychic types will make her face her worst fears. Green sends out Blasty to attack, but Sabrina easily dodges by using Kadabra's teleport. Sabrina introduces herself as part of Team Rocket's triad, and brags about creating Saffron City's light screen. Using Psychic, Sabrina freezes Green and knocks down all of her Pokeballs. She taunts Green and viciously attacks Blasty, managing to break its shell. That's brutal. However, Green sends out her real Blasty, revealing it was Ditto in disguise. She then uses Horsey's smokescreen to blind Sabrina, and wearing her Silph Scope, Green now has the upper hand. Back to Red, he endures Lieutenant Surge's attack, finally managing to send out Soar. However, Zapdos absolutely cooks it. Red encourages Soar to stay strong and commands Razor Leaf, cutting the cables and Surge's insulated suit. This results in Surge's body taking the full power of Zapdos' electricity, knocking him out. Red then takes Surge's Thunder Badge and gloves before heading to the 2nd floor, where he sees Koga's Golbat about to strike Blue. We're not out of the woods yet, but this is a small turning point against the Team Rocket admins. Green shows how clever she is. Even with her being the weakest out of the 3 heroes, she uses her Pokemon well, taking advantage of Sabrina's underestimation. Also, if you look closely, the illusion room Sabrina created seems to be mirroring Johto's Ecruteak City, which is great foreshadowing for Gen 2. We'll learn more about that later. As for Red, his cleverness shines as he defeats Lieutenant Surge in a unique way. I like Red's speech about friendship with Pokemon being more important than raw power, which is exactly why Surge's plan with Zapdos failed. Red sends out Polly to attack, but Koga counters with Golbat, sending them flying. Koga then has Grimer trap Red, deciding to finish off Blue, who's incapacitated. Koga aims for the kill. However, Blue's Pidgeot attacks Koga, stopping the blow. Koga is shocked, wondering how Blue survived a Razor Wind to the heart. Blue reveals that the attack was blocked by a pendant from his grandfather. Angered, Koga sends out Articuno and uses Blizzard. He warns Blue to stay back, threatening Red's life. Koga then reveals that Red's actions at Seafoam Island actually helped Team Rocket capture Articuno, since it used most of its energy to save Red. Articuno then uses Ice Beam on Red, and Koga explains how he controls Articuno through Team Rocket's gym badges. Articuno's attack starts to freeze the entire room, trapping both Red and Blue. Then, as Koga tries to leave, he's struck from behind. Red and Blue have escaped thanks to Charizard, who heated the room from the outside. Together, Red and Blue defeat Koga, and he drops his Soul Badge, which Blue picks up. Using Koga's Golbat, Blue locates Professor Oak in the basement. Just then, they hear Green screaming. Blue tosses the Soul Badge to Red, and they both run off in different directions. This was another intense fight that gives more insights at Team Rocket's plan. The reveal of how they caught Articuno really shows how Red's actions unintentionally helped them, which must have been tough for him to accept. I also appreciate the method for them controlling the legendary Pokemon is explained. The power of the 4 gym badges makes it much easier to manage a strong Pokemon. It's a great callback to Chapter 4, where the power of gym badges was first mentioned. It's awesome to see a small detail like that play a big role in the story now. It makes total sense. Sabrina tracks Green, and she boasts that she's been a psychic since her childhood, allowing her to see clearly with her mind. Kadabra's Psychic clears the smoke and immobilizes Green with Disable. Sabrina prepares to strike, however Green insults her fashion sense, causing Sabrina to attack and then lose her focus for some reason, which allows Green to send out Clefairy and Jigglypuff. Okay, something's definitely off here. This is actually an infamous censorship change done to the English version of the manga. In the original version, Green insults Sabrina by flaunting her chest, causing Sabrina to angrily rip Green's dress, revealing 2 hidden Pokeballs. Clefairy and Jigglypuff use Growl and Sing to disrupt Sabrina's focus, allowing Green to grab the Marsh Badge and make her escape. Red finds a strange device with 7 badge slots, and overhears Grunts calling it the Badge Energy Amplifier. As he inspects it, Sabrina enters, forcing him to hide. When she spots him, Red tries to attack, but Pika doesn't follow through. It's actually Green in disguise. Meanwhile, Blue rescues Professor Oak, who revealed that Team Rocket wanted him as Blaine's replacement. Speaking of which, we learned that Blaine actually gave Red the Volcano Badge. Green trades Red her Marsh Badge for his Moonstone, hinting that the amplifier boosts a Pokemon's power, but it's actually meant to create a whole new Pokemon. Sabrina catches them, and Red inserts the Marsh Badge, but nothing happens. Green admits that she gave Red fake badges all along, escaping and leaving Red to face Sabrina. She summons Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. Green then quickly replaces the fake badges, activating a glowing light that flies back to Sabrina. This chapter really showcases Green's strengths. She's clever, cunning, and uses her charm to outsmart her opponents. From exploiting Sabrina's insecurities to scamming Red for the Moonstone when she gave him fake badges, this is classic Green, for better or for worse. Finding out Red's Boulder and Cascade badges were fake all along also makes so much sense, explaining why he struggled to control Blue's Pokemon back when they swapped in Celadon City. He technically had no badges. That's such a fantastic detail. As Silph Co burns, Team Rocket grunts try to escape. They're blocked, however, by the good gym leaders, Brock, Misty, and Erica, who planned this siege, putting their trust in Red and Blue. Inside, the Amplifier merges Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres into an unholy fusion, Zapmolcuno. That's a fan name, by the way. Green faints at the sight of it. Sabrina commands the fusion to attack, narrowly missing Red and blasting a hole in the wall. Sabrina reveals that Red's Eevee experiments helped create this fusion, saying Eevee is no longer useful. Red tries to attack with Soar, but he gets sent flying out the hole in the wall. Sabrina explains that they needed all the gym badges to combine the Pokemon, and used Red and Blue to collect them. As she attacks, Blue enters through the wall, reassuring Red that Palatown will be protected. They're easily outmatched, and as the legendary attacks, Red uses Green's Moonstone to evolve Clefairy into Clefable, who uses Metronome to unleash powerful attacks. The legendary Sky Attack overpowers, however, launching the trio out of the building. Sabrina thinks she's won, but Soar's vines break their fall. Using Soar, Charizard, and Blastoise, they fight back with a combined attack, causing Soar to evolve into Venusaur. With one last push, they are able to win, separating the fusion, allowing the legendary birds to flee. And as Silph Co collapses, Red sees a suspicious person. The next day, Palatown citizens are safe, Team Rocket is captured, and Red notices Green is missing. She hides, expressing her irritation about Professor Oak's presence. Blue then leaves, telling Red he looks forward to challenging him at the Indigo Plateau. This was an awesome climax to the Team Rocket showdown. First, let's talk about Zapmolcuno. That fusion is such a wild and creative idea that only the manga could pull off. It's one of the reasons why I love this story, adding an original and huge challenge for the heroes. I also love how everything led up to Red, Blue, and Green working together to take it down. Soar's evolution was perfect timing, so now all the starters are fully evolved. It's funny because going through Silph Co in the games is kind of tedious and annoying, but the manga makes it high stakes, intense, and thrilling. And yet, this wasn't truly the end for Team Rocket. The next chapter begins in a flashback, where a Team Rocket lab explodes as Mewtwo escapes, leaving Blaine horrified. He wakes up and realizes it was just a nightmare. Feeling pain in his arm, he continues his journey towards Cerulean City. The next day, Bill tells Red about a beast that destroyed the northwest part of Cerulean City and retreated to Cerulean Cave. He warns Red not to underestimate this Pokemon, though Red is already set on finding it. Walking through the ruins, Red is stunned by the destruction. As he reaches the cave, a powerful tornado blasts out, sweeping up Red and his Pokemon. Arrow tries to lift them out, but the tornado is too powerful, losing Red's Pokeballs in the wind. Suddenly, Blaine appears, helping Red recapture all of his Pokemon and saves him with his Rapidash. He explains that the tornado is a Psywave, created by the powerful psychic Pokemon, Mewtwo. When Mewtwo appears, Blaine's arm painfully reacts. Blaine then reveals that he used his own cells to create Mewtwo, but their connection is slowly killing him. Blaine then protects Red by using Rapidash's flames and sets off alone to face Mewtwo and prevent further destruction. This was such a fascinating twist on Mewtwo's origin. I like the idea that Mew's genetic sample wasn't enough, so they mixed in some human DNA. It definitely better explains why Mewtwo is more humanoid than Mew, and even more intelligent. The manga reaches new levels of sci-fi with Blaine's infected arm, acting as a tracker for Mewtwo. That's so cool. This can be seen as an after effect of Team Rocket, so it's neat to see that Red is still having to clean up after their mess, now with the greater threat of Mewtwo and Blaine's life on the line. Blaine and Rapidash charge headfirst towards the heart of the tornado, taking Mewtwo head on. As they collide, an explosion clears the tornado and Blaine falls to the ground. Red rushes to him, shocked to see Blaine has a Master Ball. Blaine explains that Mewtwo had become so powerful that he couldn't get close enough to use it, so he tried a direct attack instead. Blaine then reflects on his past, sharing how he joined Team Rocket because of his scientific curiosity. He experimented on Pokemon, but Red's compassion changed him, making him ashamed of his actions. As Blaine passes out, Red's hat is knocked off. It's Mewtwo, who's ready to attack. Red sends out Polly, but Mewtwo creates a Psychic Spoon to easily knock him back. Blaine tells Red that Mewtwo's abilities adapt to any opponent, using the tornado for multiple enemies and the spoon for a single opponent. Red tries a group attack, causing Mewtwo to use the Psywave Tornado. With Arrow's help, however, Red and Pika fly into the tornado. Mewtwo pushes them back, but Pika leaps off with the Master Ball and successfully captures Mewtwo. Red leaves Mewtwo with Blaine, hoping Mewtwo learns that not all humans are cruel. As Blaine's pain eases, he thinks of starting fresh with Mewtwo, inspired by Red's bond with his Pokemon. This has to be one of my favorite chapters from this saga. I loved getting more backstory for Blaine, and finding out that he was the one who experimented on Gara and Eevee. That was such an unexpected twist. It adds depth to the Moltres fight, where Gara actually trusted Blaine. It really shows how much Blaine has changed, and how Red's actions inspired that. Red's bond with his Pokemon touched Blaine deeply, even shifting his view on Mewtwo's potential purpose. This version of Blaine is way more interesting than any other adaptation, and Pika catching Mewtwo was so epic. Only Red could do something like that. In Viridian Forest, a young girl is lost when a Dratini suddenly jumps out to attack. Red arrives just in time to save her, using Sword's Vine Whip to defeat Dratini. The girl, amazed by Sora, wishes for a Pokemon of her own, so Red decides to help. He lends her Pika, and together they weaken a Rattata with Thundershock. The girl successfully catches it, and Red explains that she's now responsible for her Pokemon. Suddenly, a group of wild Golem and Weezing surround them, but Red quickly throws down a Pokeball and they escape on Arrow, heading to Viridian City. In the city, the girl's friends warn her about strange Pokemon sightings in the forest. Curious, Red checks his Pokedex, which gets everyone's attention. Red shares his goal of becoming the ultimate Pokemon master, and learns that the Viridian gym leader, rumored to be unbeatable, left long ago. This piques Red's curiosity, so he decides to visit the gym. Before leaving, Red tells the girl that Pokemon are kind if raised with care, teaching her about the bond between trainer and Pokemon. He then rides Gara across a river to the gym. Inside, Red and Sora explore, and find a damaged bust of the gym leader. Suddenly, a mysterious man appears, saying he's been waiting for Red. This was a fascinating chapter, serving as the calm before the big final battle against Giovanni. I love how Red's conversation with the others piques his interest in checking out the gym. Exploring with Sora is such a full circle moment, as it's where their journey began. Back then, Red was inexperienced, but now he seems like a seasoned trainer thanks to everything he's been through. His interactions with the girl especially were wholesome, showing him as a mentor to this newbie trainer. This chapter is also a huge setup for the next saga, but we'll get to that in the future. Red demands to know who this mysterious man is. The man reminds Red of past encounters, like in Diglett's cave and the Silphco incident, helping Red realize this man is Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket and the Viridian City gym leader. Shocked that Giovanni was testing him all along, Red prepares to fight. Giovanni assures him that he's alone, and drops all his Pokeballs to the floor as proof. Red sends out Polly, but Giovanni's Cloyster freezes him before he can attack, showing Giovanni's skill and speed. Real quick, can I just say how terrible Polly's luck has been going first? I swear he gets one-shotted like every time. Giovanni remarks that most trainers focus only on commanding Pokemon and not their own abilities. He challenges Red to a battle. If Red wins, Giovanni will accept defeat. If Red loses, he must join Team Rocket. Red boldly places his Pokeballs on the floor, accepting the challenge. They both rush to grab their Pokeballs, with Red sending out Snore. Giovanni's Nidoqueen counters, throwing Snore through the wall. Giovanni then switches to Golem, which bounces around the gym, forcing Red to dodge. Red realizes Golem is targeting his moves, so he tricks it into going outside to face Snore. Golem shatters, but uses Rock Throw and then Explosion. Suddenly, Giovanni's Beedrill presses its stinger on Red's neck, but Red secretly slides a Pokeball under his foot and summons Arrow from behind. What an intense start. I love the way Giovanni's true identity is revealed to Red. It's definitely a shock to him, especially since Giovanni seemed like a good guy before. Now this battle is on a whole nother level. We've seen this from adventure battles before, but this one truly emphasizes the active role trainers play. Adding Pokeball throwing speed as a factor brings an insane twist to the fight beyond just strategy. Giovanni, a grown-ass mafia boss, is using his experience and physical advantage to give Red his toughest challenge yet. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. Luckily, Red always finds clever ways to stay in the game. Using Arrow, Red flies into the air and uses Hyper Beam to defeat Giovanni's Beedrill. But Giovanni disappears, and the gym starts to collapse. Red rescues Polly, but a falling rock strikes him on the way out. Red sees Giovanni's Nidoking, and realizes its earthquake caused the gym's destruction. Giovanni, with his strongest team, praises Red for forcing him to battle seriously. Red calls on Arrow, but Giovanni's Rhyhorn defeats it with Tail Whip and traps Red with Fissure. Okay, how the heck does a Pokemon go down to a Tail Whip like that? Come on, Red. Giovanni then reveals himself as a Ground-type master and the most powerful gym leader. Seeing two of his Pokeballs, Red tries to grab them, but Giovanni's Dugtrio uses Dig to damage the Pokeballs. Giovanni then continues by explaining his plan to create an army of savage Pokemon and how he's controlled each place Red has visited. Determined not to lose, Red grabs Pika, his final Pokemon. Giovanni predicts Pika's Thunderbolt will take 5 seconds, enough time for him to strike with Nidoqueen. But Pika surprises him by attacking faster than expected. Red reveals he had Pika charge Thunderbolts inside the Pokeball, and used Lieutenant Surge's electroproof gloves to handle it, turning Giovanni's own tech against him. As Giovanni falls, Red says that his true downfall was the pain he caused Pokemon before passing out. Later, Red wakes up in a medical center. The young girl he helped mentions the townspeople calming the wild Pokemon of the forest, and then suggests Red should become Viridian's gym leader. Red is flattered, but decides to continue his journey, promising to return when he's ready to be the best gym leader ever. This was the true epic finale against Team Rocket. Giovanni proves to be a dangerous opponent, destroying his own gym, using fissures to trap Red, and even breaking Red's Pokeballs to limit his options. Red was at a huge disadvantage, especially since Giovanni pulled up with a team of 8 Pokemon. Volo who? Giovanni's scheme to release savage Pokemon in Viridian Forest was a shocking twist, and it's poetic that Pika, a Pokemon originally from that forest, defeated him. This could even explain why Pika was in Pewter City. Maybe he migrated due to the savage Pokemon that didn't belong there. If this is true, it makes Pika's victory even more of a full circle moment. The Indigo Plateau Championships is underway. After defeating his opponent, Red advances to the semifinals, along with Blue. What is this, the Kalos League? Blue mentions that every past league champion has come from Pallet Town, building excitement for a potential final match between them. Red then notices Green, who attempts charming a fisherman for a trade. She also reached the semifinals, surprising Red as he learns that she's from Pallet Town too. Bill then arrives to spectate, and reveals that Red will be facing Blue in the semifinals, crushing his hopes for a final showdown. Meanwhile, Green battles Dr. O, and her Jiggly struggles against Spearow's attacks. Red suggests an aerial battle, but Green admits she has no flying Pokemon. Dr. O reveals his flying type team, showing he knew her weakness. Dr. O then taunts Green about stealing, making her wonder who he really is. Using Disable, she switches to Blasty, and uses Hydro Pump to launch herself into the air. Spearow counters with Mirror Move, knocking her down. As Spearow approaches, Green's fear of flying types becomes clear. Dr. O then shares that she was once abducted by a legendary Pokemon, and later stole his Squirtle. Dr. O is revealed to be Professor Oak. With one more Mirror Move, Green is defeated. She then explains that she wanted to go on a journey just like the other kids from Pallet Town. Moved by her story, Professor Oak forgives her, giving her a Pokédex and calling her the 3rd trainer from Pallet Town. Oak later withdraws from the tournament, making Red and Blue's match the championship final. Since the league went the tournament route like the anime, it's disappointing that so much of it was skipped. It would have been awesome to see Red's entire team in action, so overall, this league portion feels weak in execution. However, as a green-focused chapter, this was excellent. I love how the battle with Dr. O exposes Green's past by exploiting her fear of flying types. The silhouette of the legendary bird, that being Ho-Oh, hints at Johto, and foreshadows a fleshed out backstory for future sagas, which is super exciting. Learning that Green grew up in an unknown land also shows that she had a rough childhood, likely forcing her to rely on trickery to become a trainer. Her fear of birds even explains why she doesn't use flying types, and why she passed out at the sight of Zapdos. But now, it's time for the long-anticipated match between Red and Blue. Red starts with Soar, while Blue uses Charizard. Blue mocks Red's choice, but Red surprises him with a poison powder, showing that he's not intimidated. He pushes back with Razor Leaf, and then switches into Snore. Blue quickly counters with Machamp, whose 4 arms block Snore's attacks. Machamp is able to juggle Snore, and slams him to the ground, breaking the arena floor. As Blue prepares to attack, Red uses Harden in hopes of hurting Machamp. Blue sees this coming, however, and has Machamp strike the ground, launching Snore into the sky. It seems like Snore is out of bounds. However, he comes back with a devastating double edge to defeat Machamp. Blue then uses Ninetales, while Red recalls Snore. As he plans his next move, the Elite Four can be seen watching their battle. Blue expects Gara or Arrow to be next. However, Red sends out Polly, who immediately gets caught in Fire Blast and is launched to the ceiling. The Polly bad luck continues, huh? Same goes for Pika, by the way. Blue then switches to Charizard, and Red sends out Soar, hoping to finish with the Pokemon Professor Oak gave them. Red uses a creative combination of Polly's water, Pika's electricity, and Soar's Vine Whip to create a thundercloud inside the stadium. Lightning strikes Charizard through Soar's Vine, delivering a powerful attack. As the smoke clears, both Red and Blue's Pokemon are barely standing, but Blue and Charizard collapse first, making Red the champion. The crowd cheers as he thanks his Pokemon before collapsing himself. At the award ceremony, the 3 Pallet Town trainers, Red, Blue, and Green, stand together, celebrating their journey. and outside the stadium, Mew watches them before flying away. Despite the league being rushed, this was an epic ending to the Red, Blue, and Green arc. Beyond the intense action, this battle shows just how much Red and Blue have grown. Red, once hot-headed, is now calm and thoughtful, making smarter choices in the heat of battle, while Blue, who was once prideful and arrogant, has learned to adapt and show empathy towards his Pokemon. What makes this change so special is that they've influenced each other, learning and growing from their rivalry. In the end though, Red's clever strategy, combining his first 3 Pokemon's abilities, leads him to victory. It is such a satisfying conclusion to Red's journey to the top, where now he can stand proudly as the strongest Pokemon trainer. For now.